than that to scare me away.
Here you go. Here you go.
Preordained. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, and it's preordained that the Knicks are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And I had a terrible night watching the Knicks game. I'm learning. I told you last week I'm trying to be a fan again. And then it gets ripped away, and I start watching the game as a former executive, and I start thinking about all of the cynicism that I have, and then it manifests itself in the most unbelievable way. Jalen Brunson, again, like night follows day. He's scoring 40 points a game. They put up the greatest group of players. It was Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Ty Cobb, and Jalen Brunson have scored 40 points in 4 consecutive playoff games. Maybe it was Michael Jordan, Jerry West. It's just an unbelievable group of players. And then there's Bernard King, and there's Jalen Brunson. The Knicks are playing the Pacers. It's a competitive game. The Pacers are good. The Knicks are fine. They're both fine. Fun players to watch. And then the NBA rears its ugly head. The referees absolutely impacted that game. Please stand up if you believe that Miles Turner committed a moving screen on Jalen Brunson at the end of the game. You don't call that hard stop. Well, you do call that if you need the Knicks to win. But other than that, you don't call it. It was not Brunson. It was DiVincenzo. I thought it was Brunson. No, you're right. It was Dante. That guy can shoot. But in any case, I had Brunson in the mind. The pregame meeting happens with the NBA referees that are going through the series. Everyone's aware what the Knicks are needed. We got to get them deep. You're all going to benefit if the Knicks are to have a deep playoff run. I want the Knicks to have a deep playoff run because they earn it. It's not that I'm sad seeing John Starks and Larry Johnson and Patrick Ewing sitting in the first row, or Sprewell or Stephon Marbury. It's not that it makes me feel old. Just watching Josh Hart as number 3, thinking about Starks, of course. No one's going to wear 33 again, as they shouldn't. And I'm looking at this group of players. They're fine. No depth. Thibodeau gets his beard all ready for the game. Everyone's exciting. The eyes of the NBA world are upon them. And all of a sudden, the Pacers have a chance to win the game, and the whistle blows. We haven't even talked about the NBA challenge system. I, for the life of me, don't understand how that works. I don't often align myself with Stan Van Gundy, who happens to be a great guy. I just don't align myself with him too often. And on the call last night, he wondered aloud, which is what you do as an analyst, what is it that they look at? We used to think that about the umpires in New York, in Secaucus. It's really in New Jersey. What are you looking at that you are letting a call stand, or you are ruling something a foul or not a foul, like Brunson didn't hit the guy with the body? My level of frustration boiled over, and it was measured against the happiness of the Knicks winning, but the knowledge that they're winning because they're preordained to win. So here's what's going to happen. It's not good for the Knicks to sweep. There's going to be a series here. The Knicks in 6 seems like a good number. Maybe the Knicks in 7 would be even better, but you can't risk a 7th game, though an Eastern Conference semifinal 7th game is always good, but you can't risk a 7th game. You got to get the Knicks to win it earlier than that. You get Boston to beat Cleveland, and you've got Knicks Celtics, you've got a chance for Rangers Bruins, and there is heaven in the commissioner's offices of the NHL and the NBA. Everyone gets to go back and talk about 1994. My favorite year in sports ever was 1994, with the Rangers winning the cup and the Knicks making it to game 7 of the finals. But the timing is not a coincidence. The calls were not a coincidence. However, before you start planning a parade, the benefit of the Knicks being in the Eastern Conference Finals is definitely significant. There is no incremental benefit to the Knicks winning a title or even to the Knicks making it to the NBA Finals. So that would be great, but the Celtics in the finals would be just fine against the Nuggets, not against the Wolves. That'd be a nightmare for the Wolves to make it to the finals. No question about it. Or the Thunder or any team. You got to get the Celtics in there and hope that it's the Nuggets. So the excitement that you may feel as a New York fan that this cynical world where there is preordained information will lead the Knicks to a parade? No. Because when you're negotiating and you're looking at ratings, you're looking at level of interest in your league, you're looking at eyeballs and downloads and subscribers, which is what streamers look at. Keep in mind that none of the rumored deals have been announced. When you are NBC thinking about, are you taking over from Turner? And how about Ernie Johnson coming out and saying, I will not leave Turner even if we lose the NBA, and Barkley saying, I don't want to work without Turner, but without, excuse me, let me do that again. 12/18/69. Ernie Johnson saying he will not leave Turner if Turner loses the NBA to Peacock, NBC, Comcast. Charles Barkley saying, hey, I've got an out in my contract that if Turner loses the NBA, I'm a free agent, which is code for I can renegotiate and get more money either from the incumbent Turner or I can go to a broadcast platform that has the league rights. Inside the NBA, the best show, the best pre and post game show. I still would take Phyllis George, Jane Kennedy, Irv Cross, Jimmy the Greek, and Brent Musburger. You Are Looking Live, NFL Today on CBS, as my all-time favorite, but that also has to do with being young and so young and in love. But do you think if basketball leaves, this is what I was just thinking, and we didn't talk about this, Coke, I'm sorry, but do you think that if Turner loses, EJ stays, and Barkley joins someone else, and then he goes back on his word that he doesn't want to work with anyone but Ernie? Will money do the talking? Or do you think Turner keeps the show but doesn't have the rights and it's a competitive pregame show, except that doesn't work either because anybody who gets the rights to the games, you want the exclusive pregame window. Sort of like the Oscars where E has to go offline when ABC does the final red carpet little pregame. It's totally normal that if you're going to pay money to get the games, you want the window right before and right after. It's going to be interesting to see. But in terms of the bidding that's going on with Amazon and Comcast and ESPN for NBA rights, it's not about the Knicks in the finals. It's not about the Knicks winning the finals. Just a deep run, deep into May, touching on June. What a joke. Rudy Gobert had a great day yesterday. Congratulations, Rudy. You are the new father. You missed a game, and your team, it turns out, while Vegas thought you were worth 2 points, the line went from 5.5 to 7.5. We lost that pick of the day. We'll get to that in a minute. Turns out you weren't worth 2 points at all. Defensive player of the year. No, didn't matter. 4 score, and one night ago, the Nuggets scored 80 points. Was that the final? What was the final of that game? I want to say it was 126 to 80, but I think, is that really what it was? That seems totally wrong. 106 to 80, not 126. That's pretty good. Good retention. Good retention. Timberwolves didn't miss Rudy Gobert out on paternity leave. They come in and sweep the Nuggets in Denver. So they didn't steal one, they won two. Can the Nuggets beat the T-Wolves 4 to 5 games? Does Jamal Murray get suspended for throwing stuff on the court? I don't think you get suspended for that because the league won't want to suspend him. But if he were a different player on a different team, throwing stuff on the court, I have a feeling that likely would lead to some sort of suspension. That game was over before it started. That noise you heard were people turning it off and saying, screw it, I'm going to sleep. I thought I saw A-Rod doing a victory lap. It's a 4 to 7, A-Rod. Nothing personal pick of the day. Nuggets 5.5 over the Wolves. It's a guaranteed win. The line went from 4.5 for game 1 to 5.5 game 2. I thought that was the easiest pick we could have. How could the Nuggets lose that game? And I was only off. I needed to get 27 points instead of giving 5.5. We are 57 and 7. And our pick today, we're going to baseball. Something's going on a little bit. Zach Gallen is only minus 130 on the road over the Reds. Zach Gallen generally has to give more when he's pitching. He's been fine, not Cy Young worthy, not dominant. The Diamondbacks are playing the Reds, and the Diamondbacks clearly have not performed in the way they expected when they added to their pennant-winning team. It's time. I mean, it's May 7th. I don't think it's time yet to start selling off your players, but it's time. We're going to take Gallen and the D-backs on the road over the Reds of WKRP in Cincinnati. All right, let's get back to basketball because that really wasn't the biggest story of the night. The Nuggets losing 2 at home. That, on a normal night, that's a big story. The Knicks getting a gift at the Garden. That would have been a big story. I think the biggest story of the night was the press conference. We're now at exit press conferences, some of my favorite time of year. Daryl Morey didn't even make the show with his end-of-season press conference for the Sixers. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of changes. I like that. You want continuity, he said. Nope, no continuity here. But that's not going to make the show. Daryl Morey telling us that he's going to build around Embiid and Maxey. Nope. Let's talk Pat Riley. Pat Riley, caveat, love you, Pat. You're reminding me more and more of Walter Matthau. That's a reference that's going to get lost on 69% of our audience, isn't it, Coca? Did it get lost on you? Pat Riley reminded me of Walter Matthau. When I say that, what do you think to yourself? Do you think anything? Not even listening. Coca is currently in the bathroom. Grumpy old man. That's what we're talking about. Pat Riley takes the podium. He looks a little grumpy. And then he starts talking. And I want you to listen to what he said about his star player.
You know, for him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut. And your criticism of those teams.
It's so good. All right, what's he talking about? Jimmy Butler came out. He's got this whole off-the-court persona, superstar celebrity, trying to cross over into the world of God knows what, internet fame. He doesn't need that. He's got NBA athletic fame and fortune. Anyway, he thought that the Knicks and the Celtics, that they would be home and not playing were he to be playing. It's the exact opposite of how Pat Riley would want his players to be. So Pat Riley takes the podium and he goes scorched earth on his players. We didn't show you the Tyler Hero part where he called him fragile and said, hey, that's We got to figure out his nutrition and his training. A total FU to Tyler, but we didn't even talk about that. Let's talk about Butler. Jimmy Butler is a player who we have told you on this show has had his struggles in Miami off the court. And not talking about personal issues. I'm talking about within the Heat organization. There have been some rumblings in Miami. It's hard to know when we're going to get good Jimmy or bad Jimmy, when we're going to get Jimmy to play, when he's not going to play, when he's going to show up to practice, when he's not going to show up to practice. And I think Pat Riley's had enough, because it's one thing to be Jimmy Butler, but to lead your team to playoff success the way he has. And we've talked about and chronicled that this 5-year Heat period has been absolutely maybe their best or second best period they've had as a franchise. Just incredible success. But Pat Riley watches that series against the Celtics, and you can't think anything other than we are not better than that team. We can't beat that team 4 to 7 times. The only people excited were the Levitard crew when they won game 2 on the road. There was no delusion on behalf of Pat Riley. But when you take the podium after a season, it's best to keep that in-house. And what Pat Riley was doing, and he doesn't do anything that's not purposeful. From the minute he opens his eyes to the minute he closes his eyes at the end of the day, every move by Pat Riley is purposeful. Every word, every gesture, every bit of body language, he is sending a message to somebody, whether it's in his family or whether it's on his team. It is a message. It's hard to misinterpret the message from Pat Riley. And this is in reference to the fact that Butler is eligible for about a $113 million extension. It'd be a 2-year extension for 26-27. And Riley wants you to believe that they haven't discussed that. And then he wanted Jimmy Butler to know that we're not going to talk about a contract like that. We need you to play. He actually said it. That's a big decision on our part to commit those kinds of resources unless you have somebody who's going to be there and available every single night. He was impugning Jimmy Butler's lack of availability, his injuries, his level of care, his worthiness of a max deal. Fascinating to me. Fascinating that Patrick Riley would choose to call out Jimmy Butler's off-court antics now, when it's the off-court antics that have been gnawing at Pat Riley for years. And he chooses now as a way to get the message to Jimmy, you better manage your expectations about this extension because it ain't going to happen. The problem is the hurt that Pat Riley inflicted upon Jimmy Butler, the embarrassment that he inflicted upon him publicly, that is not going to be forgiven or forgotten. That's not going to be Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley holding hands and going to Santa's Enchanted Forest this coming winter. This is Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler as they are preparing to get divorced. There is no other explanation for what Riley did. When asked directly, is Jimmy Butler available to be traded? Pat Riley had a very, very interesting answer. Not at this time. That's from the How to Be a Good President handbook. Is blank available for trade? My answer always was, would you trade Stanton? My answer always was, everybody is eligible to be traded. It's just that some are more likely than others, and I would put Stanton as less likely than others. Because what you're saying is, hey, if you can Bob Barker it, yeah. If there were a player that we knew we were going to trade, we would still position it publicly as, not right now, not available. But when executives call and you're having conversations with other GMs and other team presidents, you start to ease off your position. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about him. And then when you're pressed, you have to be pressed first. You don't volunteer. Yeah, we'll talk about trading Jimmy Butler. You get a team that calls in and says, hey, will you talk about Jimmy? Nah, not right now. Well, if you do, let me know. We'd have great interest. Then you let a couple days pass, and then you say, we talked about it. We would talk about Jimmy Butler, but you're going to have to knock our knickers off. That's how good it's going to have to be, this sort of package. Because you're negotiating, you're positioning. When you've got a player who is known as a superstar, who helps your team, who in theory has been the anchor tenant of this 5-year run, but who views the regular season and practice as merely the intro, the prelude to playoff Jimmy, who plays between 52 and 64 games the last 5 years, that's it. Never eligible for any postseason anything since the 65 load management rule started. And that's going to upset Pat Riley, old school Pat Riley. You play hurt. I was thinking about Pat Riley, actually, and they said it on the broadcast, and I was thinking about it. I have no way to prove that I was thinking about it first, but I swear to you I was. I was thinking about Pacers Knicks. That was a huge part of my fan life. There was a time yesterday, Coca, that the score of the game was Knicks 94, Pacers 90. And that was the final score of Game 7 of the 1994 Eastern Conference Finals, my favorite game of all time. I have a picture of it right over here of Patrick Ewing raising his arms in triumph from the great George Kalinsky. And I was thinking about the screen that was set on DiVincenzo. What a wussy screen. And the guy frickin' takes a dive. Give me a break. Sorry. We're talking about Riley. One last thing, just to make sure you're all clear. We're going to make it an official wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen and we revisit it, like we're revisiting June 22nd of 23 when we said Wemby would not win Rookie of the Year. Well, last night we were proved unanimously wrong when Wembayama was named NBA Rookie of the Year. So there's that wait to see that was a no. Here's the wait to see for May 7th, 2024. Butler will not get an extension by the start of next season. And Butler won't be on the Heat next season. Wait to see. All right, Coca, play some music.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson? Get into my Twitter, David P. Samson. We have some fun engagement there. Or you can get on Instagram at David P. Samson. Get into my DMs. I don't respond as much to DMs because Coca tells me that the people DMing me are not real people. I think some of you are real. At least I hope. I don't know if any of you look like your profile picture, but maybe you do. Although Coca tells me you're all bots, but who knows? Or you can get on Twitter or DavidSamsonPodcast.com. Hello at David P. Samson. That's one way to do it. Would love to hear your take on what was discussed in the interview with Bally's CEO on John Fisher's attempt to relocate the A's. Sue Kim, the chairman of Bally's Corp, did a podcast, and we want to show you a minute of that podcast and talk about it. Anytime we can talk about the Oakland A's and John Fisher, we're going to do it. And your question got us there. Coca, play it.
It's not lost upon Fisher, who's the owner of the Oakland A's, that, hey, we're going to come here for baseball. Obviously, that's our thing. But if we make a nice space, we can complement the convention business. We can complement the event business. We would be the only person of our in that size category. They're talking about 30,000 seats.
Sure.
Nobody else would be on 20.
Right. Yeah.
So it'd be in not quite the same magnitude, but in the same way as Allegiant stands on its own category, we would stand larger than all the other arenas.
Right.
So if you could pack an arena, why not come to us?
Sure.
You would just make 50% more money.
Yeah, no question.
And so I think that's going to be a pleasant surprise. Plus, baseball plays in the dog days
Right.
of Vegas.
That's right, yeah.
So actually, that stadium is empty
Right.
during the hot day,
Yeah.
during when Vegas is quote unquote hot when it's cool.
Right.
Fall to
Yeah, sure.
spring.
Right.
That's peak season for Vegas business and tourism. And so no, I think it's a great product.
Yeah, no question.
Boy, do I want to invest in Bally's right now. That chairman knows what he's talking about. Where do we start? Let's start with the first part. I love the math. You've got a 20,000 seat arena indoors. Then you've got a 30,000 seat baseball stadium. And therefore, if you're an act that's going to sell out Springsteen T-Mobile Arena, forget that. Go play the A's stadium where there's 30,000 people because you'll make 50% more money because you're going from 20 to 30. Here's a quick news flash for those of you who don't know how to do math. Increasing revenue by 50% would be based on the average ticket price. The extra 10,000 seats that go from 20 to 30 are crappy seats. Your revenue does not go up 50% when you do something from 20,000 to 30,000. How do I know this? Because I said the same crock of crap when I was marketing a new stadium in Miami. There's nothing like it. We've got 39,000 seats. Forget going to Broward and then to Miami to play at the arena. You want to do something, go back and get the tape of every meeting I had in every church, synagogue, commission meeting, every meeting I had. We are going to fill this niche space. We're going to make so much money, not just for ourselves. We're going to have big payrolls. We're going to win games, but the community, is the community going to benefit from this? Thank God for Guns N' Roses and Joel Osteen and the Caribbean World Series and the World Baseball Classic. It did not happen the way that we had projected the other events to happen in Miami, just like it won't happen in Vegas. That is not baseball. Go look at the baseball stadiums across the country and look at the amount of non-baseball days they get. You always say you're going to get more because you put that in your projections because that's how you borrow the money and that's how you get the deals done. Meanwhile, what Soo Kim was really talking about, people are all up in arms that you think that you found out something new, that the A's were always going to relocate. Fisher always wanted to relocate, and it's baseball that wanted, Rob Manfred wanted the team in Oakland, not Fisher. What, is that news to you? Is anyone surrounding this issue surprised that John Fisher was not making good faith attempts to stay in Oakland? Was this like an epiphany that makes you want to embrace Bally's with all of your heart, soul, and finances? He certainly did reiterate on this podcast, yeah, we gave him 9 acres. Picture it like condominiums. The A's have a part of the condominium, 9 acres. We did a story how they're in no rush to develop the other acres, the other 27 acres. It's just total horse hockey, everything he said. So here's my question about Soo Kim and Bally's. When you're watching that podcast, when you're watching that clip, and you think to yourself, I go to Vegas. Baseball games during the summer. He said we're going to have 2 million people around our other development. How great's that going to be? He's talking about the projection of a sold-out stadium. Well, almost sold out. 80 games times 30,000 people would be 2.4 million people. So let's just say they're not quite sold out. Whatever. They're not drawing 2 million people. And he's saying that that is the quiet time in Vegas. I don't know that he's ever been to Vegas. Have you ever been to Vegas to any of the pool parties in August, my main man, Mr. Kim? I have. Not so quiet. But I digress. Trying to make you think that during the summers, everyone's going to go to baseball games and all the tourists are going to come and go to baseball games. Now, there are tourists in Vegas during the summer. They're just not going to go to baseball games. Oh, but all the visiting fans were. When Oakland plays the Red Sox, people are going to say, oh, what a great weekend to go to Vegas. We want to see a regular season game in Vegas. And when we get to Vegas, that's exactly what we want to do. The A's would be better served doing what we were going to do in Vegas, pre-sell all the tickets to casinos and don't care if people come at all. Instead of this ridiculousness in your pro formas that you're going to rely on tourists to supply you 3,000 to 5,000 people a game. It's absolutely not happening. But did you watch or listen to that piece of tape? Listen to the whole podcast and say to yourself, the A's are way closer to moving to Vegas. It's a done deal. I didn't. And that wasn't me just trying to confirm or have happen what I predicted is going to happen from the beginning. It's me reading between the lines of a chairman of a company trying to tell me something when what he's really talking about is he doesn't have the resources to develop the Vegas acres right now. They're spending their money elsewhere. And the hope is by condominiumizing, keyword is minimizing, the project, that will be the catalyst, the anchor tenant, the keystone to the development on Tropicana, on the site of the old Tropicana. Whew. I'm sorry, folks. Park's closed. That's not how it's going to work. But thank you for that, Sue Kim. We appreciate your brilliant analysis of the Oakland A's transaction. All right, when we come back, we're going to review a movie and then talk about, I got one more baseball thing to talk about. Ferris Bueller made his debut last night against the Fighting Fish. And we need to talk about what it is to come back from a second Tommy John, just so you're aware of what you should be looking for. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. We are here live at 8 a.m. every morning, and then on the DraftKings Network at 10 a.m. If you're listening to us, then you're missing today's blazer shirt combination. I had a thing happen to me this morning. I don't know if people notice. I don't know if you can see this on camera. Not the bracelet part, which is true. I do wear those. I remember them today. But I always have sleeves. So this is a long sleeve shirt. I have a thing with my shirts, and I don't know what it is, that they lose buttons, and I'm, for whatever reason, not aware of it. And the cuff button on the left sleeve was off. So when I went to close the cuff, the button wasn't there, so I couldn't close it. So I didn't want to leave it open, so I had to roll it up. But then I couldn't very well close my right arm cuff where the button is there and fine, because then there'd be one cuff showing, one cuff not, and you would all notice and think that looks totally ridiculous. So now it looks like, if you're watching this, I'm in a short sleeve shirt, which I'm not. I just had to roll it up, and I rolled it up wrong because it's impeding the movement. Do you ever do this when you roll up your sleeves? You can't roll it up to the middle of the elbow because then it hurts when you bend and move and gesticulate. But I can't change it because I can't really reach in there. Yeah, I'm just off my game because of that. I have no circulation in my arms. I need a tailor. I need a button. Ferris Bueller made his debut yesterday for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He had been out. Walker Buehler, he had a few rehab. Oh, I didn't do. Sorry. All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson. Watch a movie every day. I watched The Idea of Me on Amazon Prime. I watched it the other day. I wanted to review it. Anne Hathaway and the guy from that movie about the Royals. His name is Nicholas. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm sorry, but he's the good-looking guy named Nicholas. It is about a May-December relationship. They make him 24, which is good. They make her 40. He is a boy band member, and she goes, of course, with her daughter to the band and then locks eyes with him because they end up in the same trailer. I don't know about you. Occupational hazard. They met because she had to use the restroom at Coachella, and she thought the restroom was in a trailer. So she walks into a trailer, and it's the trailer of the singer in the band that's about to perform. All I kept thinking is, fire the security company. That's the best the writers could come up with. How about them locking eyes? What was that movie with, we reviewed it, Coca, Be in My Brain. It was Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson, and they were at a concert and they locked eyes, and they all of a sudden, it was not Marley and Me. It was oh, come on, Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson, Marry Me. Yes. Did you have to look that up, or did you know that off the top of your head? I love movies like that where the unexpected happens. I don't mind older women, younger men, older men, younger women. I'm in for love is love. The heart is the heart. The heart wants what the heart wants. I'm looking for chemistry. I'm looking for sparks. I'm looking for the fireworks. I'm looking for that to always exist because that's so realistic in relationships, for every kiss to be the first kiss and every moment to be the first moment. Totally happens that way. Ringless. The movie was fine. It was fine. I thought he was younger than 24, so I thought it was creepy, but then he was 24, which is fine. 40. Anne Hathaway looks great, acts great, love her in movies. She's just great. She's bubbly, she's effervescent, she's interesting, she's beautiful. I just love her. I thought the script was fine, ordinary. Is it a waste of your time? No, because you're going to feel good. You're going to think to yourself, oh, that'd be cool. It's called The Idea of You. I don't quite get that, because I always have said to people in my life, we're going to get a little off the subject here, Coke, and I apologize. Is it me who you like, or is it the idea of me? So I've asked that question of many people in my life, on and off the court, because the idea is always greater than the reality. The thought of, oh, David must be fun to hang out with, or must be cool, or must have a great life, or must be so good looking. And then you meet me and you're like, sort of ordinary. The idea of you. It's worth it. So Walker Buehler made his debut for the Dodgers yesterday and had a interesting game. Here's the thing about two Tommy Johns. Iffy, velocity down, may not recover. Buehler had made a bunch of rehab starts, did recover. He was rusty in the beginning. He found his footing the last couple innings, ended up only pitching 4 innings. And I want to just quickly mention, if you are a Dodgers fan, you have to adjust your expectations. Too many times when a player comes back from Tommy John, you are expecting that player to be that player. And it's these great players who have Tommy Johns, and you just expect greatness immediately, the level of dominance immediately, and it does not work that way. Tommy John, to me, is a slot surgery. A number 1 pitcher has a Tommy John. They're number 2 after. A 2 to a 3, a 3 to a 4, a 4 to a 5, a 5 to a 10. Sort of gets exponential down below. Buehler was on his way to being a number 1 pitcher. There is no doubt about it. He will not be that. Will he return to that? Unknown. And if so, it's not going to be until next season. That's how long it takes once you even come back, even though it's only May. And what the Dodgers will let you know is that, oh, by October, he's going to be the Buehler of old. Well, I got that mute button wrong. He will be the Buehler of old. You got to wait till next year. What a smart move to bring him back against the Marlins, though, isn't it? Very, very smart. You know what else I find smart? I find it very smart when people activate sponsorships. I find it smart when companies figure out how they can best brand themselves. And I find it smart when matches are made between companies that buy and companies who sell sponsorships. In sports, you're in the business of selling outfield signs, and you go through all these proposals and you go through the data analytics. Here's the number of people who will see your sign. For behind the plate, here's the number of times you're on SportsCenter. Never. Here's the number of times you're on the local news. Who cares? No one watches. Here's the number of times your highlights will be on YouTube. There's a number associated with it, then a value, and then you come to a deal. It's the way that you price anything in an open marketplace. You price it as high as someone will buy it. college bowl games have changed a lot over the years. Announcement was made yesterday that made me smile. I am so excited for next year's Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. Yes, that's the bowl that used to be sponsored by Barstool. Full disclosure, we called up and we wanted to know what would it cost to be the Nothing Personal Bowl? How would that work? We should do that, Coca. Should we go to Meadowlark? How about a Meadowlark Bowl? How about a Levitard Bowl? Why are these sponsorships happening? How are these deals made? It's actually way more simple than you believe. You're either a have or a have not. You're either in the Premier League or you're in a feeder league. You're either in the big leagues or you're in the minor leagues. You're either in the NBA or you're in the development league, the G League. College bowl games are that way. You're either a CFP bowl or you're not. Why are there all these crazy bowls with these crazy sponsorships? The Pop-Tart Bowl, the Tostitos Bowl, whatever they're called. These bowl games are played with teams who are not even in the new proposed Super League, which is not going to happen, but they are bowls that are not of note other than to the teams who are in those bowls and the broadcaster. If you talk to John Skipper in a moment of absolute truth, he would tell you, we don't care the name of the bowl. We don't care who's playing in the bowl. All we have to do is say it's a bowl, put it on at the end of December, put 2 college teams in, and we'll get a couple mil watching it. We will make money. All of these non-CFP bowls have to figure out how they will continue to monetize. A, they will continue to be broadcast, but then how do you draw interest for people to come to the games? How do you draw interest other than the 2 schools participating? How do you draw interest to increase the value of the broadcast, of the worth of the broadcast? That is something that these bowls are discussing, fighting internally, thinking about. And then the thought got to, hey, we got to get a sponsor. Why is it that we can't open ourselves up to the alcohol category? Why doesn't anybody have that? Well, there's certain rules about certain categories. You don't see the Marlboro Light Bowl. You don't see the Red Tube Bowl. There are certain categories that we know very well that you're not going to see. Alcohol, however, I view as totally different. And I shouldn't. I wonder why, if cannabis is legal in all these states and you're in a bowl that's in the state, why can't you have the Doobie Bowl? Do people still smoke doobies? Do they still call it that? God, I may have just aged myself out. Coca, does anyone say that at all? How about the Bowl Bowl? You could have that. That would be an easy one. You could have the Grey Goose Bowl playing in France, the Tito's Bowl. I don't quite get the full name of what Snoop is doing here, but I do get the activation. It's like saying that Ryan Reynolds can't make money at that tier at Wrexham. He can. I mean, he's spending too much money on transfer players and he's losing money, but he's certainly getting a lot of attention for what he's doing in Wrexham. And it's like owning a single A team, now double A team. I think they're 2 levels below the big leagues right now. Snoop Dogg will get great benefits by being the title sponsor of this bowl game. It will be the talk of shows today, maybe only my show, our show, not my show, our show, or maybe only when the bowl happens will there be a discussion about it. But I think this now opens Pandora's bottle. And the bottle that it opens is anytime you can expand the scope of possible engagers with your product, possible buyers of your product, you're going to do it. It's the same thing that happened with gambling. Same thing that's going to happen now with alcohol. Pick whatever vice you want. If people are doing it, then someone's going to start making money off it. Congratulations to the 17-time Grammy Award-winning hip-hop star. I'm really happy for you. You've got your own bowl. All right, well, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about another subject. Just to mention it so it's top of mind. If it's something that you're thinking about, if you're thinking about all of the protesting that's going on campuses, don't turn the show off. We've got 5 minutes left. I'm just asking you to think about this. I'm asking you to think about nuance. I'm asking you to think about the presidential election that's coming up and wondering, does every issue have to fit so neatly in? Does Trump favor this or does Biden favor this? Because they can't both favor something or both be against something. They both can't agree that today is Tuesday, May 7th. All of the campus protests that are going on, all the issues that are happening on campus, the negotiating that's going on with the encampments, with the people who are protesting, the reality of what those protests are. Why can't we all agree on the nuance that may exist in this issue, as opposed to just having a straight line? Anyone who is against Israel is an anti-Semite. Anyone who is in favor of what Israel's doing is obviously a friend of the Jewish people. Can't you love Jewish people and not love what the government is doing in the war in Gaza? Does that make you anti-Semitic? No. What makes people anti-Semitic is being anti-Semitic. What makes people racist is being racist. People say guilt by association. If you are friends with a racist, you must be a racist. You better check your entire contact list, because I'll bet you dollars to donuts that somebody in your contact list has a belief in a set of values that you do not agree with. Whether it's on abortion, whether it's on gun control, whether it's on the war in Gaza, whatever the case may be. Why is it that we have to have the view that every single person who is doing the protests is definitionally anti-Semitic? The people who are being racist and anti-Semitic, there is no room for that. There is no question in my mind when the KKK does a get-together, there is no other reason for them to get together other than for every single person with the white hood is racist. Hard stop. There are loud people on these campuses who are saying horrific things about Israel, horrific things about Jews, horrific anti-Semitic things, and there is no place for that. For those who are there trying to say we don't agree with what Israel is doing, that is a different story. It's like not agreeing something that your home country is doing in America. Does that make you a communist? Does it make you anti-American? Of course it doesn't. It means that you want to have discourse. Sometimes it's not wholly intellectual. But I don't want to be the person who talks about this issue and makes it binary, who makes it just easy, one size fits all. You protest the war, you're against Netanyahu, you're an anti-Semite. I'm not going to do that. Now, you call for the end of Israel and the death of all Jewish people? You in any way say that what happened October 7th was proper, was not terrorism? I'm going to call you an anti-Semite. You start screaming anti-Semitic tropes, I'm going to call you an anti-Semite. Same thing with any other sort of racism. But you question methods that governments use that are either economic or that are during wartime, whatever the methods are that a government uses to do the job of being a government, that is the purpose of us and freedom, is to be allowed to question that which our elected officials do and then vote with your thumb and get to the ballot box and effectuate change. Do you think there's a difference between protesting the Vietnam War and treating Vietnam veterans as pieces of garbage when they return from the war? Because I sure as heck fire do. It is an absolute disgrace the way our country treats veterans. The veterans aren't the ones who make the decision to enter into a conflict, to enter into a war. The veterans are the ones who are willing to fight when their country asks them to fight. My frustration level on this, Coca, exists on myriad levels. But the most important level for me, obviously, you want me to say it's don't be an anti-Semite or racist. I don't want to have to say that. The most important thing to me and the biggest concern to me is that people are too interested in being on one extreme or the other, and they're unwilling to even understand the issue. It's high time. It's just business. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. This is nothing personal.